What are they doing over there? It's like they're in a Saw movie and eating this food is one of the challenges. Oh, and don't even get me started with beans on toast. That has to be a prank.
Oh, you think girls have it harder than guys? Well, one time I was on a hike by myself and I see these girls like 20 yards in front of me scream and then stare at something on the ground. So as I get closer, I realized they were looking at a snake, but they were afraid to walk past it because the path was pretty narrow and they didn't want the snake to bite them. So when I got there, they asked me if I could move the snake and I was like, are you kidding me? That thing could be poisonous. And they were like, yeah, but you're a man, you can do it. So then I said, I'm probably more scared of snakes than you guys are. Besides Jojo Siwa, snakes are literally my biggest fear. So I just tried making any excuse possible to not move that snake. I was like, well, I'm actually allergic to poisonous snakes. And the girl was like, yeah, no duh, everyone is allergic to poison. So eventually, I just had to man up and I got a really long stick and flung that thing off the path. Honestly, girls do probably still have it harder than us, but still, I'm scared of snakes too.
Why are people vegans? Because I have a friend that's vegan and every time I eat with him, he looks like he wants to throw up because of how bad the vegan food is. So I asked him why he's even vegan in the first place if he doesn't like the food. And he said, it's because I care about the animals and want them to live. Well, that can't be true because you're the one eating all their food now. And then he was like, well, I just feel guilty knowing that an animal was sacrificed just so I could eat it. But like, if you don't eat the animal, then it was sacrificed for nothing. You should feel guilty about that. Do vegans not understand that once the meat is in the grocery store, that animal is not coming back to life? Because I'm sorry, but I don't think you can revive a cow after it's already been turned into a Big Mac. And to any vegan who is like, well, if I don't eat meat, then less animals will be used for food. All I have to say to you is that's not true because I've been eating double the amount of meat lately. Wait, pause. This is your warning to never be friends with short people. Because I used to have a roommate that was super short, and on the first day we moved in together, he went to the store and bought a bunch of food, but he left all of his groceries on the counter when he got home because he had to go to work. So he texted me asking if I could put them away, and I was like, yeah, do you care where I put them? And he was like, no, just put them wherever there's space. But this was a big mistake because a couple months later, I go into the kitchen one morning, but something smelled weird. So I start looking around trying to find what it is. I open one of the cabinets and find a bunch of potatoes with this gross white goo on them. Now I've never bought potatoes, so I knew they were my roommates, and I asked him why he didn't eat them, but he was like, I was looking for those forever, but I couldn't find them because you put them in the very top cabinet where I can't reach it. So honestly, it was my fault, but still, we need to put a ladder in the kitchen or something. Why did all the coolest things happen whenever you missed a day of school? Because one time, I was super sick, so I didn't want to go to school. And I sent a picture to my friends of me laying in bed at like 10 a.m. and said, haha, you guys have to go to school while I'm playing video games. But I was not prepared for what my friend's response was gonna be. Because he replied by sending me a selfie of him with Shaq inside our classroom. So I responded and was like, please tell me why Shaq is standing inside my math class right now. And he said apparently our school had the best grades in the state or something. So Shaq came to congratulate us and they had a bunch of free food and everything. Like, I had good grades too. I deserved to see Shaq. So the next day when I show up to school, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they'll have something really cool today also. But no. The first moment I walk into class, the teacher goes, okay guys, I know everyone had a lot of fun yesterday, but today we have a pop quiz. Why? Like, why do I never miss these days of school?
Have you ever had a friend that's always grounded? And it's usually for the most ridiculous reasons too. Like I have one friend that's a triplet, so he has two brothers that look exactly like him. And one time, when we were younger, one of these brothers was saying mean things to another kid at school. So this kid went to the teacher and told on him to get him in trouble. But the only problem was that this kid got the triplets confused, and he ended up telling on my friend who had nothing to do with it. So the teacher called my friend's parents to tell them what happened, and when he got home from school that day, his mom was super angry and he had no idea why, so she grounded him. But the brother who actually did it just never admitted it until last year because he didn't want to get in trouble. Honestly, I can't blame him. I probably would have done the same thing.
The most embarrassing thing you could possibly do at a restaurant is not knowing how to pronounce a dish correctly. Because the first time I ever ate at a Vietnamese restaurant, I saw people at the table next to me eating soup. So I was like, dang, that looks really good. I want to order that. So I look in the soup section of the menu and there was only one option, so I knew it was that one. But when the waiter came and asked what I wanted to eat, with all the confidence in the world, I said, I'll have the pho, please. And he goes, you want the what? And I say, the pho. But he still doesn't understand, so eventually I just point to the thing I'm talking about and then he just laughs really hard and goes, my friend, it's called pho. I was so embarrassed. I should have just ordered the spring rolls. Why do people say they can't cook? Like, that doesn't even make sense. All you have to do is follow the directions that the recipe calls for. There's literally a movie about a rat being able to cook, but you can't do it. Obviously, if someone were to tell me to make a beef Wellington, I couldn't do it on the spot, but if you give me some directions, I could do it. Like, all you have to do is read. Add 1 cup of flour. Okay, add a cup of flour. How can you not do that? Does saying that you can't cook just mean that you can't like count or read? Because if you can read and count as good as like a
3-year-old, then there's no reason you shouldn't be able to understand how to add 1 dang cup of flour. Or the only exception I can see for people saying that they can't cook is if they burn their house down cooking. Yeah, you're right. You cannot cook, bro. But for everyone else that says it, do you not know how to cook, or do you just not want to cook?
Nobody talks about the difference between how girls text versus guys. Cause I got a new phone recently, but I lost all my contacts. So whenever someone would text me, I wouldn't know who it was because it just said their phone number and not their name. But I could still always tell whether it was a guy texting me or a girl. Because when it was a girl, they would use a lot more acronyms. Like I got a text from a girl saying WYDTATG. And at first I was just like, uh-oh, someone has spell check turned off on their phone. But no, it was just one of my friends that's a girl saying, what you doing tonight after the game? But when my guy friends text me, they just say the most random stuff for no reason. Like I got a text out of the blue that said, I just dropped the loudest fart in the library. And I didn't even have to ask who sent the message. Right when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that's my homie Tom. Why are little kids so mean? Because I know a teacher that literally just quit her job because of how evil the kids were. But the scary part is, they're getting really creative. Like she said one of the reasons she quit was because she would always bring a cup of coffee with her to school. But one day, she went to the bathroom during class, and when she came back, she took a sip of her coffee, but she immediately spit it out because it tasted really thick and weird. All the kids started laughing when she did this as if they knew it was gonna happen. So she looked inside the cup, and you know what she saw? Dirt! Some kid put dirt in her coffee. She asked who did it, and everyone pointed to the same kid because they didn't want to get in trouble. So she took him out of class and had to talk with him. And he literally said he just took a handful of dirt from outside and poured it in her coffee. She asked him why he did it, and he said, because I felt like it. Yeah, that's a great reason. Like, these aren't even silly pranks anymore. That's just straight up trying to send your teacher to the emergency room. She said sometimes when she sneezes, she feels dirt come out of her nose. We're so cooked. This is your warning to never get a haircut if a girl tells you not to, because I liked this girl when I was in school and I was pretty sure she liked me back. But one day I decided that I wanted to get a buzz cut. So that's what I did. And the next day I go to school and I sat right next to this girl. So every day when I'd walk into class, she would look at me, smile, then ask how my day's going. But this time I walk into class and we make eye contact for a second and her smile immediately drops. So I sit down and during the whole class, she tries her hardest to not look at me. I even asked her a question about the schoolwork and she just answered without making eye contact with me. So I asked her why she was acting weird, and she said she just didn't expect me to get a haircut. But I knew she thought it was horrible because from this point on, she would never interact with me like she used to. So don't make the same mistake I did. Or do, honestly. It's probably just me because I look like a potato with a buzz cut.
If you give a girl any information about a person, they will be able to find them, because one time I was at a basketball game with some friends and we took a group picture together, but I didn't look at the picture until the game was over. And once I did, I noticed a really pretty girl sitting in the background 2 rows behind us. So I was like, dang, I wish I saw her during the game so I could have talked to her. And I told my friend that's a girl about this, and she was like, oh, I'll help you find her. And I was like, thanks, but that's impossible. I don't know her name or anything about her. But she was like, no, I can do it. So I was like, yeah, right, whatever. But then about 3 hours later, I get a text and it's from her. But you know what's in the text? It's all the social media profiles of the girl from the game. I asked her how she found it, and the way she explained it made it sound like she was a detective. Unfortunately, it didn't matter because I DM'd the girl and she never answered. But hey, it's the thought that counts, right?
Have you ever taken a lie so far that you just had to stick with it? Because I saw my friend's cat get hit by a car and pass away when we were little kids. Because we lived right next to each other, but he was at baseball practice when this happened, so he didn't know about it. So I just assumed his mom told him about it when he got home that night, but a couple days later, I went over to their house to hang out, and I saw an orange cat inside. So I was like, wait, you got a new cat already? And he goes, what do you mean? We've always had this cat. You know him. But I literally just saw that cat pass away a couple days ago, so I was super confused. But as I looked closer at the cat, something looked a little bit off. So I compared it to a picture in his room of his old cat, and it wasn't the same one. It was really similar, but the lines on his old cat were just a little bit different. So his mom must have just thought that it would be a better idea to get a completely new cat instead of telling him what really happened and breaking his heart. And I never told him this because I didn't feel like it was my place to. So either they literally replaced their old cat without telling him, or I just saw the first ghost cat ever. Why do people have such weird group chat names? Like, I don't think I've ever met a friend group that has a normal one. It's always gotta be something freaky. And I would know because I get added to a lot of random group chats from people that follow me, and they always have the most insane names. Like, tell me why the other day, my phone starts going off a bunch during class, so I check it, and I'm getting texts from 5 Nights at Diddy's. My teacher sees me looking at my phone while she's teaching, so she's like, Tyler, why are you on your phone while I'm teaching? And what am I supposed to say back? Oh, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Smith. I'm just getting a bunch of texts from 5 Nights at Diddy's right now. Please stop adding me to these group chats.
Have you ever noticed that the most funny people are always the most sad? And you would never know it because I had a friend in school who literally could have been a comedian because he was literally the most funny person I've ever met. And I never saw this guy frown or get upset at school. But one day, I go into the bathroom during class and I hear someone crying in one of the stalls. So I look at their shoes and they're green, but I only knew one person who wore green shoes to school, and it was the funny friend. So I wait for him to come out of the stall and then ask him how he's doing. And he knew I saw him crying, so he couldn't lie to me anymore. So he was like, honestly, I'm not doing good at all. Apparently his parents were going through a divorce and it was really hard on him. But literally a couple hours ago, he was making everyone in class laugh. You would have never known what was going on in his personal life. So if you have a funny friend, make sure to check up on him.
How can girls not tell when their friend has a crush on their boyfriend? Because I just saw a video this girl posted where her boyfriend and her best friend were playfully fighting. And I literally felt like I was interrupting something just by watching because you could tell they just wanted to make out the whole time. But the poor girlfriend is recording these videos behind the screen laughing as if it's some funny joke. No, girl, that friend of yours is in love with your man. And based off how your man was acting, he feels the exact same way. And I get it. I'm insecure, so I probably just think that everyone's cheating on me. But it gets to a point where it becomes so obvious that you can't miss it. Like she was literally third wheeling, even though she's the one in the relationship. But the saddest part is, you can't even convince her that's the truth. You just have to wait until they inevitably break up. Nobody talks about how scary it is when you use the wrong humor with the wrong friend group. Because I have two friend groups, one from school and one that I played sports with, but they have very different senses of humor. My friends from school really find brainrot memes funny, but the other day, I was talking with the sports group and one of the guys said he was gonna get a haircut, so he asked us for recommendations on what to get. And someone said, oh, you should get a low taper. So right after he said that, I sung, imagine if Ninja had a low taper fade. But right after I did that, they looked like they wanted to banish me from the friend group. So I was like, you guys don't know the Ninja low taper fade meme? It's massive. But none of them knew it because they actually have a life. So I was just sitting there embarrassed. I need to touch grass, man. Have you ever had a friend that just can't spell anything over text? Because there was this girl I was talking to, but she thought I didn't like her back because we would text and I would be like, hey, do you want to hang out? And she would respond with a sentence that would literally take me 20 minutes to read because she didn't spell anything correctly. So sometimes I just wouldn't respond because I didn't know what it said. And eventually she was like, why don't you ever respond to my texts? I don't know. Maybe it's because I can't read them. Like I have a better chance of understanding someone speaking Japanese than understanding her text. And I don't speak Japanese. How do you expect me to read the word gorgeous when you spell it with 4 E's and an I? Like at least give me a chance.
I hate having a Gen Z teacher because one time, while she was in the middle of teaching, a couple of kids in the back of the classroom were talking. So she was like, guys, what is so important that you have to talk while I'm teaching? But then one of the girls answered and was like, Sarah and Ryan broke up. But instead of just continuing to teach after they said this, the teacher goes, good for Sarah. I thought they were a bad match anyway. And she literally said this while Sarah and Ryan were in the class. But a couple weeks later, the teacher tells us that we have a seating change. And you know what two people she put right next to each other? Sarah and Ryan. Like this teacher literally loves drama and gossip more than the students. But also, since she just graduated a couple years ago, she knows that most students just use the internet to find answers for their homework. Cause during lunch one day, I asked her if she could help me with a problem from our classwork. And she said, no, not while I'm on my lunch break. Go look it up on Quizlet or something. That's what you guys do anyway. Like, can we just have robot teachers at this point?